How much Bitcoin do you need to retire?
How much Bitcoin do you truly need to retire?
Do you need 1 Bitcoin, 0.1 Bitcoin, 0.01 Bitcoin, 0.0001 Bitcoin? What if I told you that no such magic number exists and that you may want to avoid this mindset altogether?
It depends on how long you can hold it, but I think it'll have infinite purchasing power eventually.
Stick around to the end of this video and you may just change your tune about retirement altogether. I'm Oceans, this is Beyond Bitcoin, truly Beyond Bitcoin. Let's dive in. We're all after the same thing, an easier, more thoughtful life that allows us the freedom to do what we want, when we want. The desire to retire has never been stronger with the influx of the boomer generation and Gen X reaching retirement ages. It has the rest of us thinking, when is our time? But with the current economic landscape, rise in the cost of living, and all kinds of economic uncertainties, many of us are understanding more and more that retirement will be out of reach for good. But here's some good news for those of you who are holding Bitcoin. Traditionally, when we think about retirement, we're thinking passive income, lake house property, fishing. But there's a couple of problems with this approach. Number one, on average, what happens to the health of those who retire? And more importantly, number two, what happens when your retirement plan doesn't compensate for the rate of inflation? This makes me think of all kinds of questions. One important one is, if the currency is getting debased at such a rapid rate, should we really be looking to retire at all? You do know we're getting debased, right? Trump wants to cut rates.
President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. Other than that, what can I tell you? Our country's going to make a lot of money. We would be helped if interest rates would come down, but we're going to see how the board rules on that soon. I'd love to see them come down a lot.
Doesn't that mean like money printing or something? I mean, this is a serious question. What do you think, Michael?
You know, if we take, for example, during the pandemic, the response of the political apparatus was to lower interest rates to zero and to start buying assets, in essence, printing money. And the defense was there's no inflation. Yeah. But of course, you had one part of the economy where it was locked down, so it was illegal to buy anything. Like you couldn't, it was either illegal or it was impractical. So it would be impossible for demand to manifest. So of course there is no inflation. On the other hand, there was instantaneous, immediate inflation in another part of the economy. For example, you lowered the interest rates to zero. At one point we saw the swap rate on a 30-year note go to 72 basis points. Okay, that means that the value of a long-dated bond immediately inflates. So the bond market had hyperinflation within minutes of these financial decisions. The asset market had hyperinflation. We had what you call a K-shaped recovery, what we affectionately call a K-shaped recovery. Main Street shut down. Wall Street recovered all within 6 weeks. The inflation was in the assets, like in the stocks, in the bonds. If you look today, you see that typical house, according to the Case-Shiller Index today, is up 19.2% year over year. So if you're a first-time home buyer, the inflation rate is 19%.
So retirement sounds like the dream that we've all been waiting for. The freedom to relax, the freedom to do what you want. But if your monthly stipend is the same and cost of living is increasing, what will your retirement look like incrementally? Anyone got a chart on that? Retirement is fine, but do you have a survival plan? These past few years have been crazy for natural disasters, solar flares, and power grid failures. I bet you want to be prepared for all that, right? When your lines of communication are cut by traditional means, sat123.com is there. Sat123.com offers a variety of satellite phones, Faraday bags, and power solutions for those times of crisis, so you can reach your loved ones or local agencies in a time of need. Go to sat123.com and use the promo code SIMPLY for 15% off your purchase. 15%, wow, that's pretty good. Disaster comes at you fast, but with sat123.com, you will be prepared. Now, I want to go back to another question. What happens to your health on average when you retire?
Today, I would like to talk to you about how, under certain circumstances, retirement could speed up aging of our brain, it would make us slower and more forgetful. And ultimately, it could increase our risk of Alzheimer's disease. This study, called the Path Through Life Project, started in about 2001. Since then, the participants have been contacted every 4 years, and today I'll show you data that span all the way through the fourth data collection that occurred in about 2015, when the oldest participants were around 77 years old. I mentioned earlier that retirement could be a trap. To show you what I mean, I want to use changes in memory performance, or in our ability to remember things, as an example. To test memory, the participants were asked to repeat back words that were just read to them. They were supposed to repeat as many as they could. The words were sort of random and from unrelated categories like tools, fruit, kitchen utensils, so the task was quite challenging. If you look at the slide behind me, the horizontal line at the bottom shows you ages of the participants across this longitudinal study, and the vertical line on your left tells you how many words people actually recalled. And here are the results. What you see that at the beginning of the study, these participants were most likely to recall close to 8 words. Later on, about 12 years later, in fact, they were more likely to recall closer to 6 words. And this is quite normal and not bad. Now, the story gets more interesting when we separate scores obtained when people were still working from scores obtained when people were already retired. What you see is that the decline in memory was almost exclusively restricted to the scores obtained when people were already retired, whereas those who continued to work showed a pretty stable performance. Something seems to happen around the time of retirement that could make people more forgetful. Let's look at this from a slightly different perspective. Okay? Let's say that we're all members of the same bank, all of us here. Let's call it the bank of TEDx. Okay? And we each get $1,440 every day. Not for anything we actually do. We just get the money deposited into our accounts, and we can do anything we want with it. Just imagine the possibilities. But every night, whatever we don't spend or invest into something disappears. But the next day, voila, a brand new deposit of $1,440 again appears in our bank account so we can have some fun. Well, as some of you may have already figured out, I'm talking about the 1,440 minutes that we get in every day. It's a gift. When we work, we devote some 500 of these minutes every working day to work. When we retire, well, guess what? We even get to keep these extra 500 minutes instead. Nice, right? Well, maybe not. It seems like when people enter into retirement, sometimes they become tempted not to invest enough of their time into things that are challenging. They sort of drift into a permanent vacation. And as they go on this really long vacation, guess what? They fall into the retirement trap.
Research suggests retirement may increase risks like depression and cognitive decline. It seems likely that staying active and purposeful can mitigate these health drawbacks, but the evidence leans towards retirement posing challenges like social isolation and reduced mental stimulation. The current economic landscape of the S&P 500 at record highs and Bitcoin at $120,000 might encourage retirement for those with strong portfolios, but inflation is at 2.7% on paper, and Lord knows how much it is in reality. Let's say you come up with a number to retire. You put all of your calculations inside of some sort of retirement calculator, and you come up with a number. And let's say you achieve that number. Problem is, do you know what the economic landscape will be when you do? No way. Here's some figures to think about while you're considering retirement now in your 30s and 40s. This chart estimates costs of healthcare over time for retirees. From 2002 to 2018, this is before the big print in 2020, 2002 had $160,000 estimated for health costs for retirees. And in 2018, $280,000. That's a 75% increase. Not only is this metric rising 75%, but that's not compensating for the fact that cost of living itself has gone up dramatically. Groceries, automobiles, vacations, all of these things are costing more money as time goes on. Here's another chart from Business Insider that I thought was a little funny. This chart shows that how much in millions you'll need to retire based on the desired salary you want to earn annually. And this estimates at a 4% withdrawal rate. Every year you're supposed to be withdrawing 4% of that piggy bank of income that you have. But the inflation rate is already at 2.7% on paper, and we don't know what it is in reality. In fact, inflation probably is calculated a lot closer to what your personal situation is and where you live and the cost of goods in your local area. This chart already shows you that if you want to earn $100K a year, you'll need $2.5 million to save. Or if your desired income is $250K a year, you'll need to save $6.25 million. Now, that's in today's prices. What's funny about that is that what happens when the inflation rate goes up? What happens to that $6.25 million? Does $250,000 mean the same now as it does in 5 years? My guess is no. So we can see that the big problem here with the traditional way of thinking about retirement and even Bitcoin retirement calculators is that none of these models can factor in the uncertainties of existence. And man, do we have a lot of uncertainties. These can be internal and external. What do I mean by this? You're sitting here with your retirement calculator trying to fix your mind on a particular number based on this particular situation at this moment in time. So you do everything you can to achieve this golden number you've come up with. You take extra shifts, you cut spending, and you make a series of choices based on the assumption of constants. Then the unthinkable happens. A lost job, an added monthly expense, a giant medical bill. The list goes on and on of unfortunate circumstances that could upend your retirement plans. Also, the inverse is true. Say you get a better paying position, or a hefty bonus, or a massive inheritance from an unknown auntie. Suddenly, your stacking and retirement goals shift, and you start thinking about not just your own future, but the future of those around you. The point is that whatever economic position you are in, it is subject to change, for better or for worse. So really the question about how much Bitcoin is needed to retire and at what age might be the wrong question entirely. Instead, I would encourage you to take a far more flexible approach. Every day is a Bitcoin stacking opportunity. And based on the fundamentals that we all know, Bitcoin will continue to rise against the dollar. I don't think we were meant to retire. What happens to a car when it retires on the front lawn? Same thing that happens to you when you retire. Atrophy and entropy. So instead, I would say stack often, but not at the expense of your life. There is no magic number out there and the future is uncertain. Thank you so much for watching, but real quick, with Sazmining.com, you don't have to wire up a warehouse or babysit humming rigs. No. They place your ASIC on renewable powered farms, handle the maintenance, and stream the sats straight to your wallet. So you're stacking and not stressing. Think of it as a set it and forget it DCA. Every block adds a little bit more sound money that you earn and not bought. If you believe in sovereignty, Sazmining turns that belief into hash rate. Claim your plot on Bitcoin Island. Go to Sazmining.com and book a call with one of their expert team members today so you can start mining immediately. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, you want to see more, make sure you drop a like at the bottom. Or you can subscribe to the Simply Bitcoin channel for more content like this. We're coming out with it every single day of the week. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell. Emotions, this is Beyond Bitcoin. Until next time.